So, Ionic, I'm going to ask you to I'm going to ask you to put on your player hat here and shake things up a bit. It's been a while, but you have certainly played the stage and played on land at the highest level. What's it like coming into game number 2 after? Because Enemy probably knew they lost that game, right? We finished at 55 minutes, I think. Enemy knew that game was over around 45 minutes, maybe even before that. And you just have this elongated, hanging on phase. How does going into game 2 feel?
Well, there's a couple different mindsets that you can have as a player. And one of them, really, you're thinking wow, well, if we just did a couple things differently, we really could have won that game. This is where we lost that game, but we're still feeling really strong going into game 2. And this is the opposite mindset that I think Enemy has, where they're probably really down on themselves. They've lost 3 games in a row now, and you really just have to do a complete reset. It's really tough to do, and I don't think even we were able to do it on TSM a couple times when we lost to Enemy last year. It's just something that you have to get out of your mind, erase everything completely, and start over fresh. This is the best of 1 that you're playing against Denial here.
Yeah, we've heard that a couple of times. I mean, even you when you were a player, I remember talking to you and you saying the same thing, that take 1 game at a time, right? And realistically, there's a whole weekend, right? This is just day 1. You can get swept and still continue and succeed Saturday and then Sunday and wind up in the Super Regional. So that's something that these teams absolutely have to remember. And Hurriwind right there, it's interesting. Hurriwind is probably one of the more momentum-based players, I'd say.
Yeah, hot and cold's a good way to put it. Momentum also works, but thus far has looked really good for Denial. I mean, there was a lot of question marks about him, especially after DreamHack. I mean, Soar lets him go, and a big reason for that was his performance at DreamHack on LAN. How is he going to do here at LAN for the first time since then? He's looked good thus far, didn't die at all in the last game, and that was tough. I mean, in a 55-minute game to not die as a mage is partially you positioning well and partially the other team not doing their job of making you uncomfortable. I think that Enemy didn't do a good enough job of getting in the face of Vetium and of Hurriwind, because both of those guys just were unkilled during that entire game, and that can't happen.
I had the pleasure of talking to Hurriwind for a long time. We did some interviews, but I kind of sat down and had an hour-long conversation with him. And it's no secret that he's very emotional, right? Sometimes we say that about players, but you're just kind of shooting in the dark. I mean, go on twitter.com, you know that this guy's emotional, right? He wears his heart on his sleeve. And a lot of times I think that has worked against Hurriwind. But here, I think it's working. I think this is exactly where he needs to be. I remember speaking to him and saying, I don't want to, ask the wrong question or anything, but do you feel like you got something to prove? And he was like, absolutely. If I answered anything else, why the hell would I be here? And he was really pissed about it. And I think that sort of chip on the shoulder, it will really fuel him, and is part of why we saw Denial do so well. So I mean, Enemy still focusing on the jungle selections here. Denial, where do you think they're going to go?
They could go Thor here. I mean, Thor's left open.
I am looking for the first pick Thor here, most likely. There's also the Terra up as well, which is something that we haven't really seen let through too much. So it's either the Thor or the Terra here, I would say.
Yeah, the Terra. Shadowq, this is actually interesting because I've always viewed Shadowq as a relatively, despite his Bacchus play, which I think is surprisingly odd man out, Shadowq is generally one of those Jigs-esque players where he sits in the back and is more peel-oriented. How does Terra work in that regard, Ionic?
Well, usually the heal, obviously you're going to want to be putting that, but also the stun and then the root as well, which the heal actually works really well on that because it's a sort of double-faceted ability where you can put the heal down, you see your carries getting pressure, they're standing in the heal, and if they are standing in the heal, you can automatically get that root onto whoever's on them.
Plus, you can use the ultimate to help out your back or your front line as they're diving the enemy, so it also helps out your carries. Just Terra does a lot for your team comp overall. I like Denial leaving up the Thor there as well, not because I didn't even realize, I just assumed that Terra is always banned because she usually is. And Shatter did not look comfortable on that Thor last game. No. He made a couple decent plays, getting in there to help PandaCat steal the Fire Giant with that branching bola, but overall, just not on the mark, and so you can see Enemy doesn't want to go into that. They're going to give Homiefe the Thor if he wants it here.
I mean, that wall, bro.
Yeah.
We heard it in comms, right? That wall. And one, I do got to give Enemy credit. They were 45 minutes into a losing battle, and, a very egregious mistake happened, and the comment was, that wall, bro. Right? So you got to give credit where credit's due. And, as I'm sure they're not very happy, I think Enemy is reacting a little bit better than some of the other teams. Kukulkan selected. Now, Hurriwind, Made a name for himself, I think. Yeah, it's probably pushing it. Hurriwind used to be really good on Kukulkan back when he was an Ao Kuang character, and now he's bringing it out here. We've seen flashes of this character more in Europe. Shouts to Shadow Nightmare than anything else, and of course MLC Stealth. But what do you think? What do you think the Snake brings to a team?
Definitely a very good zone control, I would say. And then also with the long-range setup from Thor with the wall, it's really easy to confirm damage on the tornado. So I'd say Thor and Kukulkan, very good mid-jungle combo that work well together.
As well as Terra can just lock you into that tornado forever. It sets up Spirit of the Nine Winds very well. And I'd like to see Denial, you can pressure the Gold Fury very early with Kukulkan because you can just use the Spirit of the Nine Winds to put it almost immediately into Wrath range. We'll see if Shadowq wants to go for a Wrath or Thor wants to go for a Wrath. Though with Ares on the other side, I doubt either of them are going to forgo. Well, at least Thor probably will be forced into Purification.
And I think that is a genius selection from Ares or from enemy, honestly, because so you've got the Kukulkan and the Thor, and right away I go to objective secure. All of a sudden, 10 minutes, before 10 minutes, and even up to 15, your Gold Furies are ours. We have a Kukulkan, like, what are you going to do? And enemy had already selected the Agni, so they can't combat it with a Vulcan or anything like that. So the Ares, it's going to strip the Wrath out of the hands of Denial, so that's definitely a good choice.
Plus, 2 of the 3 gods Denial have selected don't have CC immune ultimates. One of the things you're always looking for in Ares, you want to get a guaranteed Purification out of a character like Kukulkan, or basically guarantee a pull onto Terra unless she also goes Purification.
I'm really interested to see how well Pain does on this Ares because he's really a hit or miss character. You can be the type of support or the guy that hits all the chains, or if you miss all the chains, you really can't do much on Ares.
And one of the big knocks on Pain as a player is his mechanics. I mean, that's whenever you hear other guys talking about Pain, it's, yeah, he's a great leader, his comms are great, all this stuff, but he probably doesn't hit as many abilities as he should. And like Ionic said, Ares is the biggest hit or miss character in the support role. You gotta hit those chains if you want to be effective.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, before I brought up Terra being, I think it's more Shadowq's god than I let on, but Ares just seems very outside of Pain's wheelhouse. I don't remember the last time I've seen Pain on this character.
I don't think I've ever seen Pain played Ares, honestly.
Yeah.
If he has, I'm forgetting it, but.
And I mean, like, you and I have been watching Pain for like 3 years now. So yeah, that's a big twist for enemy. But in all honesty, as far as like on paper picks and bans, it was an excellent choice. Amaterasu being hovered here for enemy in the solo lane.
Definitely a comfort pick for Marauder Amaterasu.
Yeah,
just gives you, you're kind of foregoing the laning phase a little bit, but really not as bad as a lot of people used to say it was. People have kind of figured out how to clear the wave early and effectively as Amaterasu.
Sure.
And the win rate is through the roof. I mean, no solo laner brings a team fight presence like Amaterasu does.
Absolutely. And not only is it a comfort pick for Marauder, but it's also a comfort pick across the way for Benji. So it's sort of, you're taking it away from your opponent as well as gaining it for yourself. That's a good look for enemy so far. But Denial, they get the last 2 options. They've got Thor in the jungle, Terra likely to be the support, Kukulkan in the mid lane, and they're going to round it out with a Ravana solo, and the Chronos will be locked in. So we get to see Vetium on the Chronos. What's your take on Vetium I feel like Vetium's more of a traditional hunter player. What's your take on him on the magical hunters?
This is interesting because we haven't seen him play the Chronos lately. Rama's Soul and Jingwei all taken away from him in this case, so it looks like he's going to favor the Chronos. Definitely suits his playstyle a little bit more, sitting back and then looking to really make a difference in the mid game to late game.
It's kind of surprised we don't see the Neath. I mean, the double root combination between Neath and Terra plus the Spirit Arrow off of the Thor wall could have been a lot of really great setup for Kukulkan, but wanting to put Vetium on this late game carry, when a game goes 55 minutes, you kind of want that break in case of emergency god, and that's Chronos.
Absolutely. Enemy now, they've selected Erlang Shen, likely to see him in the jungle, but there's a little bit of flexibility here. I think we have seen one competitive Amaterasu jungle, but I'm not going to push it. Erlang Shen likely to be in the hands of Shattered, which is different. We've seen the Erlang in the support role for the most part. But so Denial, they're bringing out some of the deep picks. Kukulkan for Hurriwind, and enemy, we're going to see Ares on the support for one of the first times. Ionic, how you feeling?
I'm going to go with Denial again. Enemy hasn't been looking good. It was mechanical misplays galore last game, so I'm going to go with Denial again.
I have to agree. I like the idea of enemy's team comp. Pin sets up chains and bomb stuns real easily, but I just don't know if enemy can turn it around after losing 3 in a row.
Yeah, you know what? I'm with you. I think Denial, it's not that Denial has impressed me so much. It's just that I've been so let down by enemy so far. It's up to Hinuman, and it's up to Tolly.
Thanks so much, Tom. Obviously, Tolly's joining me. I was going to say Tolly there, the desk. But obviously, overall here, Tolly, I was about to say as well, stamina comes into play now. It's
Yes.
one thing that we're not really spoken about yet, but play a 50-minute game, take 2 minutes off, back at it again.
Well, Denial, they haven't been really playing lands together, so more stamina advantage, I would say, going to enemy. They've been around the block, I would say. And looking at their team composition for enemy, I'm a little worried for them. They don't really have that safe initiation from a distance. They
That's
have
true.
the Erlang Shen javelin toss, and then they have the Agni bomb stuns. But on Denial's side, they have the Thor stun, they have Vetium following up, they have Shadowq with the root and the stun.
I'm looking at General Pain here. I mean, this is a big game for him. He's playing the Ares, and they picked it into a Kukulkan, which me and you were discussing when the analysts were going through it, that Cuckoo can get free damage off completely when the Ares goes to the no escape.
And when was the last time we saw Pain playing the Ares?
That's
We're
true.
more used to seeing him play these warriors like unconventionally, right? The
He's
Guan
still
Yus,
aggressive,
the
though.
Odins, they are aggressive, but the Ares magical garden is aggressive, but we just haven't seen it coming out of Pain. And I just don't see it clicking quite yet, if I were to say. Forcing purifications is the name of the game out of Ares in general, and between Erlang, Shen, and Agni, that's where you're looking to force those purifications and then have Pain follow up after. And he already went for an early blink.
And you talk about the blink on the Ares, so you'll see him look for the initiation. Shattered, meanwhile, has gone for the Wrath start here. No invade coming out from him. Nobody's position in the jungle here on the Erlang Shen, but he's definitely looking to get off to a very speedy start.
This could be the game where enemy starts sneaking some Gold Furies with that Wrath onto
Against the
Shattered.
Kukulkan, though?
As long as they can catch the Kukulkan out of position, if he backs to base, that's the timing window that they really need to do to secure the Gold Furies. And on top of this, it's also a good strat to get the Wrath because Ravana and Thor is one of the most aggressive level 1 combinations.
Good clear overall. The start of the game is what you're looking for there. You can see, though, however, because of that Wrath, Amaterasu and Erlang Shen, they have pretty good clear on their own. But that's even better with that Wrath. They've already pushed out that whole wave before the buffs even finished. A Denial there. So, great early advantage.
But now it's going to be Homiefe rotating away to try to group up on the left-hand mid Harpies, not electing to contest the Fire Giant Elementals or the right mids. So that's going to allow enemy to get a significant gold lead to start things off.
Good adaptation, if anything else. That's the main thing you are looking for there. Big talking points as well. Keep an eye on how we see Shadowq play on this Terra. We're not seeing too much of it so far this tournament, but up against the Ares as well.
And to be fair, Shadowq hasn't been given the opportunity to really play this Terra. Great usage of those purifications, or forcing those purifications early on.
Very fast chains coming out from PainDeViande there. He took a lot of poke from the archers for free as well. Could have hesitated between those chain firings, but wanted to just like apply the application of those chains over and over as quick as possible.
This is a problem with Ares at level 2. Your chains don't do that much damage to justify you getting all that archer poke in return. Once you hit level 3, that's a different story. But Benji, though, on the other solo side, is taking so much poke. He only has 2 more health pots remaining.
He doesn't have overhead kick leveled either there, and he's just like playing the baiting game with Marauder. Marauder doesn't recognize it, but he's not got overhead kick right now. He does get it, just his level 4 off that though, just in time.
Just mistimed it, but now Marauder, though, he has the health pot and a multi-pot remaining. He has the aura to be able to stand switch, getting the HP 5 increase, whereas Benji, he's relying on that Desto to get the sustain hits and then build up that passive for the shield.
Well, this looks like an early gank onto an Ares, and Ares is the first one forward, walks straight into a wall, the stun that follows up, spin to win online, double tap will connect with the wall. Homiefe readjusts for the double tap.
And this is what we're talking about, the team compositions. There's so much setup between the jungler and Shadowq, but now Benji's in trouble!
Only level 4, so he will go down in trade. Shattered, picking up the kill there. Nice little play of the rotation coming out from both the junglers so far to both the different lanes.
And we haven't seen anybody yet today being able to really camp the soul lane effectively, so I want to be able to see more of this style. Try to abuse Benji because he's playing the Ravana. He wants to play aggressive early on, and whereas Marauder playing the Amaterasu, you're more looking for the team fights in the mid to late game. So as long as we see Shattered constantly sit in this solo lane, Benji's going to have a rough time.
Well, it's an interesting start from both the two teams. The gold lead is definitely in Denial's favor just because First Blood went the way of Homiefe, but both junglers getting that First Blood just tie things up a little bit closer than you'd expect so far.
And Fire Giant Elementals were also taken, I would say, by enemy, just cutting the gold gap a little bit closer. And now another rotation, Benji. He does have his ultimate to be able to get away from this one, but buffs are about to respawn. The fact that they poked out Benji this hard means they're going to be looking for an invade with Khaos coming as well, 3-on-2.
Is here, but he's only level 4 right now, so he can't really stop the whole world against him. Marauder's ultimate's still on cooldown on the Amaterasu for now, Homiefe trying to do the buff, and there's Marauder committed. Look at the damage that he's getting off already.
The double
Marauder
tap,
doing
though.
so well.
Double tap did a lot of damage. Now Homiefe going into the sky, just
Gets out.
barely able to get away. Hurriwind's going to get taunted back in. The ultimate coming out, knocking up Shadow, but now Hurriwind getting taken away. Thor landing back down, instantly having to teleport away. Khaos,
Little
he
bit
wants
risky.
the kill, he gets it.
And the kill goes the way of Marauder again. Marauder started this off. It's no escape time, however, though. Shadowq in trouble. The pin over the wall from Shattered. A lot of pressure onto Khaos from the man Benji, who picks up a kill in response here. Enemy diving a little bit too deep, and it's answered back again by Denial.
The team fight lasted so long that Benji had
Chronos
time
is
to
here.
back to base, and now Vetium even making the rotation. PainDeViande has nowhere to go. The chains is not going to matter. Going to get stopped by Shadowq. Overall, that was a 2-for-2 trade at the end.
We're even, Totally. The gold lead is absolutely even. They experienced the wave enemy, however, for a little while overall there. Absolutely crazy exchange. Enemy committed way too deep, I feel. They could have just backed off.
That was such an important rotation for Vetium to make, just to be able to secure his own speed buff, but now he lost out on a lot of experience. PandaCat is going to be able to try to zone him out here.
Well, he might try for that, but I don't think he will do this time round. The fact the speed buff stayed standing was the biggest talking point for me there. All that aggression from enemy was on the speed buff, and instead they went for the kills. And the kills are not worth as much as the buffs in the jungle these days.
Absolutely not. The minions are worth the most in Smite right now. Shadowq, he has to be careful. He's getting knocked up. The bomb stun going to find him as well, but the bomb damage did not. So Shadowq safely retreating under his tier 1 tower. And during that whole time, we saw PandaCat being able to grab his own red buff, whereas Vetium had to make that rotation. And as a result, also Denial, their speed buff was staggered so long that now enemy got it quicker. So if they wanted to, they could look for an invade, picking up their own speed buff, and then looking for the invade.
Well, only 5 minutes in, we've had 6 kills already, so a bit of a bloodbath early on in this one. Enemy looking to establish a lead early on. Marauder really stepped up for me in this game already, putting the beat down onto Benji and now allowing the rotation for Shattered to come in too. Benji will ult away, but could easily be ran down like a dog here. The taunt forced by Shattered just to secure the kill.
And he's going to get sustained after using that ultimate clean gank onto Benji. This is what you want to do against such an aggressive bully god in the soul lane. Get your Amaterasu ahead. Already a 2-level gap lead between these soul laners.
And now the pressure is really onto Denial here. Homiefe trying to help out Hurriwind clean up, but left-hand side, PandaCat forced to use the airstrike defensively there as well, and did use his purification, so opportunities there for Homiefe to go and swing by and say hello to Jing Wei.
I think that PandaCat didn't necessarily need to use both cooldowns there. He should have used one or the other and then walk away. More than likely wanting to use his ultimate since it's a much shorter cooldown. And now that gives Denial a huge opportunity to really gank this Jing Wei without those 2 defensive cooldowns.
Well, PainDeViande level 6 right now. Didn't get involved in those assists, but did fall down 2 times there on the Ares, which is not a thing you really want to do in an Ares. He has kept pace, however, with his support opposition in Terra. So that's the main thing for him, making sure that he doesn't fall too far behind.
As an Ares, you generally want to be relatively even or even ahead, because from behind it's a lot difficult to make plays. You're relying on the damage coming from your chains and your flame waves, unless you're going to max out your bolster defenses second, which is going to be a huge protection buff. But now in the soul lane, Marauder forced to use that ultimate. Benji doing a good job trading.
Yeah, lost a trade there. Fire Elemental's going to go the way of Denial here. Marauder has to be careful that Thor could be around, so we'll back to his tower and look to actually teleport back, potentially with a fire giant from enemy here. They recognize an opportunity, and once again, they show their experience with the early game Gold Furies.
Great Wrath yet again from Shattered. This is the strategy we highlighted in the beginning of the game, and this is exactly what enemy is known for. Getting an early 7-minute Gold Fury. This is going to skyrocket them to about 1,000 gold lead at relatively good point in the game, getting their own red buff, but yet again, look at the soul laners just trading 1-for-1 constantly.
Yeah, Benji's just not worked out this game on this Ravana so far. He's been bullied quite consistently from the boys. Still tried to make an impact, and that's what Benji's very good at. Let's be honest, like all stages of the game, he will still make an impact even if he is behind.
And this is a huge timing to bully away at the Ravana, because he has an 80-second window for his teleport to come back. He's going to miss a whole wave under tower.
And not only that, blue and speed buff is respawning right now for the side of Denial, but 3 members strong from the support jungle and the mid lane are heading this way. They should be okay, although last time we saw this, enemy did come up big.
Marauder is level 11. He's 2 levels ahead of Benji, 3 ahead of Homiefe. The damage is going to be through the roof if they wanted to contest this. We also see PainDeViande coming around the corner, so there's going to be 4 members of enemy here.
Well, Marauder didn't manage to steal it away, but he's going to ult onto Shadowq here, who gets stunned. The main focus of that ult was to release the pressure to allow them to get the speed buff. Enemy get in, they steal it, they get out.
And that's really important because Homiefe is already far enough behind, but now Denial, they're not done yet. They find the route onto onto Pain, doing a lot of damage, but now Homiefe's going to take into the sky. He has to disengage.
Tornadoes don't really hit home, only onto Shattered, but around the corner comes Benji, and he could be in a bit of trouble here. Instead, however, we will see Homiefe just disengage instead. We're not going to see any pressure. Benji under pressure himself, though.
And Homie hasn't been able to really farm, but now Shattered and Marauder, they're going to look for another kill onto Benji. He's so low, and he gets taken out yet again. That's 3 deaths for Benji. Look at Marauder just laughing.
Giggling away. He's in a great spot in this lane overall. It was something to do with that trade at around level 3, level 4 that didn't go in Benji's favor. The Marauder has just capitalized on. He called for his jungler to come over, and since then, he's having a whale of a time in the solo
This
lane.
is the point in time that somebody from Denial has to tell Benji, like, okay, man, that's like, you have to tempo, just chill in the tower, get farmed up. We need you in the mid to late game. Amaterasu is scary enough alone, but if you're behind and you can't make the same kind of impact, we're all going to be behind, so just chill and farm.
We can see actually what Homie's doing here. He doesn't want to clear the minion wave because he needs the experience to go to Benji too. He waits for him to teleport in, then we'll share the experience just to make sure his solo lane still gets the farm. Solo laners love that.
Absolutely. Both solo junglers need the experience on the side of Denial. Enemy, on the other hand, right now, they're just running away with this one. They're being able to take away the speed, being able to strip away the Golfier really early on. Golfier is respawning in about 2.5 minutes, and that's something that Denial really need to recognize, the strategy coming out of Enemy.
It's a very good start for them. I love the pressure Shatter's managed to put on the map all over with this Erlang Shen as well. These pins onto the Kukulkan, forcing the purification early on, making sure Kuku has to sit very far back, and now even looking at Vetium.
It's not a bad idea to try to force the Chronos with the ultimate. The rewind not even going to be effective. PandaCat was right around the corner.
I think a crit came through from PandaCat there just at the end to clean that one up, because that was a lot of burst damage. I don't think Gus would have done that alone, but perfectly played. Once again, Shattered actually stepping up now. He's been the concern that a lot of people have looked at as being possibly the problem that Enemy have had. Well, not this game.
Not on the Erlang Shen with a 2-level lead over Homiefe. He's been able to position himself beautifully to look for these plays. He's confident enough to even come very close to the tier 2 tower, and we see, look at Pain and Chaos.
Third one not going to connect with at the moment. Purification is finally forced by Homiefe, as well as the Terra's blessing from Shadowq.
And left-hand side, Shadowq was zoned away from that tier 1 tower. Shattered and PandaCat was thinking about pushing it out, but instead they're going to back off with a respawn coming from Vetium. It seems that Enemy, they need to back and buy before this next Golfier respawns.
Just dictating the pace totally seems to be the standard for Enemy this game as well. They're the ones that are forcing the fights. They're the ones that are making Denial respond to them. They're not allowing Homiefe on this Thor to actually do this.
And this is going to allow also Marauder to extend his gold lead and his advantage by taking away that tier 1 tower. And we see Shattered picking up his own speed buff. There's a staggered respawn timer between Shattered and Homiefe speed buff. 2-level lead for Shattered, and that's exactly where Enemy are constantly applying the pressure.
Try to make sure Homiefe loses as much farm as possible, and if they can pick Benji, even better. 4 members of Enemy are here, and the collapse from Denial is on, but they're not going to be here in time. The tornado is going to cut them off from escaping. Pain absorbing a lot of that, but he does have that Slit Shield Slam that does increase his protection.
If he wants to, he could look for a Blink Initiate here, catching 3 members. I don't know why he's not going for a while. The rest of his team are in the backhand side that could easily follow up, but instead playing it very safe, just grabbing the speed, grabbing the right side mids, backing off also the timing. With Golfier respawning 15 seconds, if they lose that fight, they lose the Golfier. So very safe, calculating call from Pain.
And on top of that, Marauder was pretty low on mana there, so was Khaos. If you do engage on that one, you could be putting yourself in a rough spot, so they will fall back, especially, like you said, with the Golfier about to spawn. Denial on the back foot this game. First time, really, we've seen it so far.
And look at all these sentry wards, this triangular formation for Enemy around the Golfier, being able to control the middle point, the top side as well. But on the bottom side, it's Denial that have the defensive sentries, now able to counter ward it. Was Shattered in the mid lane. He does have his Wrath, and now going for a Sunder in the second relic. And this is the important timing window with the experience gap lead between Enemy and Denial. There's 4 second relics, whereas there's only 2 for Denial.
Well, Enemy gonna try and force this. Let's listen into the Steel Series listening of Enemy's comms.
I'm on Terra.
Wait,
Right here.
Wait, Thor in the air, Thor's still in the air,
Careful, Thor in the air. Careful.
Nice.
Careful. Careful. Reset.
Get fucking crit.
Okay, what?
Wait, they're really...
No, we can fight.
They're sustaining. Do we have, do we have med?
No,
I'm really weak,
Okay, they have,
Careful.
they have absolutely nothing. No ultis and...
Ulti's up in 30, just give me time.
Okay, yeah, just wait for Marauder to ult, and you're gonna farm him. They pulled it. He's
Go
level
around.
12. This is Kukulkan.
Combo down.
Yeah, he's stuck.
Yeah. Good goal. That's good.
That's so good. That's so good.
Nice ball. Nice job.
Yo, pull gold. Pull these.
Nice.
Oh, coach, pull gold.
Nice ball. I'm on go.
Thor's 1 HP. Thor's 1 HP. Don't even go. Don't. Just pull gold.
Just
Wait, he
no,
doesn't have
reset.
No.
I'm coming. My hog is
Ult
down,
step
though.
two,
My hog's
two,
down.
two,
My
two.
hog's down.
Was that Cuckoo Beats?
Yo, I
Yeah.
Go there.
Everything of theirs is
I
down.
can't.
That's fine. Push mid.
Yeah, I'm searching.
Get mids and push mid.
Make caps. I'm really.
Mission,
I
push mids and push mid.
gotta heal soon.
I think we can just pull gold.
Yeah.
I'll defend mid.
I
I'll
don't
defend mid.
have
I'll defend mid. I'll defend mid.
With Agni bombs, we're fine.
Go
They
on,
don't have
come on.
Kukulkan ult. Yo, they
Yeah,
have
I'm
some
stacking my
mage
team.
Can we pull them right now? Panda, okay, rest of you go mid.
Yeah.
And then me and Marauder can do this. Marauder,
Oh.
okay?
Yep. Shit.
No idea.
Yeah,
Back up.
They know.
Towards it. They don't. I don't know where they were. They
You're
probably
good.
don't,
You're good.
actually.
We're trying to play around Thor. Alright, good. I'm gonna get XP here. We get XP?
No, don't give him XP. Don't give him XP. What are you trolling?
Okay.
Well, a very interesting fight.
Did
there,
he just say,
Tony.
are you Toli?
Is that what he said?
Did he say that at the end there? I'm going to have a serious discussion with my Ukrainian brother there at the end there.
You're
But
not
anyway,
happy now.
we saw the Thor and Hurriwind and Homie's ultimate just completely whiffed, but they still found the kill at the beginning. But enemy, they knew those cooldowns were down, so they had to go for that team fight. They almost killed Hurriwind and Homiefe anyway afterwards. So there's still a lot of pressure from enemy despite losing that one member.
Yeah, that's a big key there. For me, it was Terra's blessing from Shadowq that really made an impact there, allowing them to sustain back up and push on and fight back into that. Even though, like you said, we didn't see the Thor ult connect, we didn't see the Kukulkan ult connect, but they won the fight. Answered back by Khaos very well with those bombs coming out, but they couldn't capitalize on it. Everything was invested in the team fight that went to naught.
Shattered almost survived as well, using his ultimate, almost able to survive. The meditation was used for Marauder to be able to try to keep his teammate alive, but didn't quite find it, unfortunately. Can we look at the player healing just to see how effective Shadowq has been on the Terra so far? Not actually as much as I thought it would be. Almost 2,000, but it's still relatively early in the game.
It is relatively early, but at the same time, I mean, Terra does resustain a little bit different to Raw. It's not as strong of a heal that we've seen overall, but it's an extended fights, right? These weren't really that extended. It was a lot of moving backward and forward, not just sat in a heal, so I can see it being that low.
The mobility is really important out of that Terra's blessing, just to be able to reposition yourself, especially when you're dealing with Amaterasu with maxed out aura, providing so much mobility, but now it's enemy forcing the gold.
Chain connects. Third one, not so much. Pain taking a lot of free poke there, thanks to some nice work coming out from Homiefe and Vetium. Terra's blessing was popped on the right-hand side. As you can see, Marauder was keeping 3 members busy.
I think that was a panic Terra's blessing, though, out of Shadowq, but now it's going to be Hurriwind backing off the blink, coming out of Pain. He's not able to find the targets he wants. Two members, though.
Gonna get ulted, still alive, though, as the bombs rain down from Khaos. The damage coming out from the dots is pretty useful, but PandaCat cleans up Homiefe, and PandaCat RNGs is in the house. You saw it earlier on. He's still making it work.
And the Tornado going to zone away the rest of enemy, and they don't really have to worry about this Gold Fury being taken from Denali, because the Kukulkan ultimate was used earlier on. Now the Sentry Ward battle happening. PandaCat was thinking about possibly wrapping around underneath, but instead going to continue to farm. You have to respect those bombs.
No one going to actually get the Gold Fury this time around yet again here. As you can see, Relic's still yet to come online for a couple of players here, Toli.
Yeah, that's oppressive. Hurriwind using that Sanctuary just from that one bomb coming out of Khaos, and that's all it took to really get an advantage. And now Denial, they have to watch from a distance as enemies start to scold.
And Homiefe's not here right now. The bomb's raining down, looking for the steal. Gold Fury goes to Denial. They strip it away from enemy. Another fight is on. Shadowq chained to death at the moment, trying to get through the stuns. PandaCat credit for the kill again. The boys of enemy march on, very upset that they lost that Gold Fury.
They only found that one kill. There was a great CC being able to stop Shattered from using that wrap, just not in time, unfortunately. That's 1250 damage to confirm the Gold Fury, and surprisingly, Denial just sneak it away, and they're still in the game.
An enemy trying to just look for something here to answer back. Maybe a tier 1 on the left-hand side, but Denial have 2 members here. They're not going to fully commit. It looks like they're going to surrender this one.
And this time Shattered, instead of going for the teleport second relic, going for the Sanctuary, but he's still deciding to ignore this pushing on the left from enemy and go for his own in middle. But with PainDeViande here, he has to back off, so despite losing the Gold Fury, enemy, they found one kill, they found the tier 1 tower.
You lost track of that because it's Homiefe on the Thor who's gone Sanctuary, because Shattered at the same time has actually picked up a Sunder by the looks of it again, so using that damage reduction, sorry, the protection reduction, just to be able to burst down targets even quicker.
There's just too many Thor players, honestly, in the NA scene. Anister, Homiefe, Shatter, they all play Thor, man.
That's why it's best just call the god name instead.
That's true.
It's
That's what
safer.
I'm just gonna
the
do.
Thor has you taken sanctuary.
See,
this
nobody
game.
plays Kukulkan except for stealth, right? So like I could
Stealth,
say
Hurriwind, Shadow Nightmare.
that's true.
Who else would we see on it? Yeah, there's the most three recent ones I can think of. I can't think of any more right now. But it's 4-8 in this game. Gold lead about 2,000 to enemy after the Gold Fury was stripped away from them by Denial. With I'm not exactly sure what stole that either. It was a lot of everything being fired down onto it, so I couldn't actually tell you who it was.
It definitely wasn't the Kukulkan ultimate because that was down. But either way,
Oh,
it's going to be Shadowq out of position.
But Terra's blessing and the walls rain down. Juke boots. He's done it once before in the past. They will find the kill, but they invest a lot into him. Now Marauder's out of position. Tornado's going to cut off his exit, but he does dash through a very narrow corridor.
Oh, that's going to force the purification out of Hurriwind, and the rest of his team is looking. We see Benji on the bottom-hand side. The blink, no escape.
The ult hits onto 2. Dive with the tower, the boys of enemy now trying to really force the problem here onto Denial. Meanwhile, on the backside, the rewind comes out from Vetium standing under his tier 1 tower, isolated and alone. Benji looking to clean up PainDeViande or Khaos, or just take him out of the fight as the boys in the backside of Denial doing a good job against the front line of enemy 2.
And now Homiefe, he gets
Shattered.
taken out. Shattered is just on fire and on point. Vetium just has to watch as he runs away. So now the rest, all 5 members from enemy are still sieging this down. They catch Benji, forcing the overhead kick. But look how low Pain is. He's still in this team fight with...
again from Marauder. No mana, not going to engage again, but they got what they came for. PandaCat picks up the tier 1 tower with his last couple of
A very small win out of enemy yet again. And now it's going to be PandaCat and Khaos trying to defend this tower because there's so many members low from enemy backing off. Now with the teleport coming out of Marauder, is this going to be... There's no way to not go for this.
They pulled it for a second there, but they
There's
changed
no
their
way.
mind. Enemy already back in, forced to defend at 20 minutes in, 11-4. Enemy's favor here. About 2,500 to 3,000 gold in the lead right about now.
Ooh,
But in mid lane,
PandaCat going over the wall.
But he's not looked at Shadowq. Shadowq was right behind him as well. He will force Vetium to retreat, however.
I thought he was going to go all in onto Vetium there.
Crazy.
That was good. That's what PandaCat does. He goes Blink Artemis. If you go Artemis alone, you're crazy enough. You put Blink on top of that, just the playbook goes out the window. You can never expect anything normal out of PandaCat.
Well, Homiefe this game, level 14 in the jungle, Shattered at level 16. Good little play coming out from Shattered here. The Warriors really paying dividends for the boys of enemy this time round. They've really made it work, Tolly.
They have been so far. Denial just haven't been the same team from the first game to this one. It seems that enemy has definitely got their number. And I'm surprised because, like I mentioned before, Pain hasn't been really playing this Ares consistently enough for us to really know what to expect out of him. But it was the combination, I would say, from Shattered and Marauder being able to really deny any momentum for Benji. And as a result, Shattered has just been all over the map, finding a kill onto Vetium on the left-hand side, diving the tier 2 for even more kills. So this is the game riding off of Shattered's back. Despite only being level 16 compared to PandaCat and Marauder, he's been setting them up, I would say.
Well, build-wise, you can see a lot of items in the jungle. Hydra's online for Homiefe. Meanwhile, you can see the Witchblade picked up by Shattered as well. One of those core items you see a lot more these days on the side of the Erlang Shen.
You want to try to limit the attack speed out of Vetium right now. Once he pops that Accelerate, even though you don't have magical defense in general, that's why the Genshi's guard is there. You're trying to limit that attack speed. So it's going to be a good idea once they get grouped up and force it.
Not even the attack speed, totally, but the physical protection it gives you as well. Pretty useful as the attack speed for yourself to be able to chop away at hunters who are in a world of hurt, forced to rewind, still isolated alone as Vetium, but Terra's Blessing coming into account. Homiefe following through as well. Shattered gets a good pin off to buy him time, but Homie's still chasing.
He has to get some assistance from his team, but nobody's around the corner now. PainDeViande forced to blink over the wall. Shattered, though, barely able to avoid that, but Thor still in the sky, but Homiefe, he has to land back down into the safety. Marauder, he's caught in a little bit of trouble, but it's Pain finding 2 members with a pull.
Bombs rain down from Khaos, but it's not enough to get a kill. Shadowq, however, will get cleaned up by PandaCat, and PandaCat has arrived at the most opportune time for a hunter to ever turn up. Benji's in trouble, and in goes the boys of enemy for a second until the wall from Homiefe disengages.
Peel.
But this should be a goal fury.
It should be. Nice peeling from Homie and Vetium, making sure that Benji stayed alive. His ultimate was used as well as the overhead kick, but Pain is still around the corner. He finds all 3 chains, but the rest of his team is going to back off.
And Pain going to take a bit of poke back in response. PandaCat falls back to the goal fury, but Benji with the teleport will swing around the back to cause some problems. I love the overhead kick to avoid the stun from Khaos there. An enemy will have to think about this carefully because the reinforcements of Denial are on the way back.
Shattered is still here. He finds the root cripple, but the rest rest of his team around the Gold Fury side, and now it's going to be Shattered using the turtle to go in, but the rest of his team didn't like that idea. They were too far away.
Now, very, very hotly contested is this Gold Fury, and it's a very critical one as well, Tolly. Did Al find this one? We're back to an even game. Enemy find this one. They've actually established a proper lead then.
And with 30 seconds remaining for Shadow's Raft, this is not something that Enemy want to do quite yet. They need to be a little bit more patient, but more importantly than the gold is the experience difference. It's 7,000 on the side of Enemy. They've been able to really do wonders with it. PandaCat, we saw just how confident he was. He used his ultimate over that right side mid-Harpies, thinking that he was going to chase down Vetium there for a second.
I mean, PandaCat just done a really good job of farming, abusing Jingwei's passive, I guess. We've not really watched him in lane, but the only way he's got that lead, really, Tolly, just missed me with the fast rotation.
It was the early rotation from Vetium at level 5 or 6 where he had to rotate to defend their own speed buff, which was a good rotation, but just sacrificed too much experience.
Sneaky. Talk about sacrificial. Shadowq will be a sacrificial lamb right now. Hurriwind got a good ultimate off that hit Khaos, but that's all it hit, and the boys of Enemy can fall back knowing they took out Terra and her blessing.
That did a lot of damage, the ultimate coming out of Hurriwind, but now he doesn't have anything to contest this Gold Fury, and with the Wrath being available for Shadow, that's exactly what Enemy want. Now they're going to continue around this Gold Fury objective, and nobody here from Denial to contest it.
I think they've been looking at a tier 1 tower there and response if they could, but instead they're going to try and swing around to the Gold Fury. Too little, too late from Denial there. Gold lead established now over 6,000.
And this is the point in time where you have to respect the gold lead. 24-minute mark at 6,000 gold lead is something that you can't just ignore. And now Enemy, they're going to continue to group up. They have a relatively good team fight, I would say, between Khaos and the late game from Marauder and PandaCat, relying on those damage sources.
And with Denial as well, I mean, their late game can be pretty strong. You've got the ability with the Chronos and the Kukulkan to really make an impact in this game, Tolly. But it's going to be a little bit of time before that really kicks in now.
It's going to be a little bit of time, but now it's PainDeViande baiting out a few cooldowns, but with the rotation from Shadowq, Marauder's going to be into the ultimate, but he doesn't have much more mana to really continue this team fight.
Marauder just waited to make sure he got his support out of danger there, and it worked out perfectly for them. Enemy, and the blue buff will be secured by Denial there for the time being. Give it over to Benji once more. Denial definitely playing answer back more than anything to what Enemy are putting towards them.
And that's not a bad idea, because one wrong misstep and Hurriwind is going to make you punish for it. Like, this is something that you cannot do. You cannot be all grouped up for Hurriwind's tornadoes, his ultimates. Vetium can easily follow up as well. This is getting closer to that late game form for these two magic damage dealers.
Well, one thing I do notice here is PandaCat did go and sell his starter item off to go and get the Death's Toll online already. Sorry, Deathbringer online, not the Death's Toll online. Deathbringer online already, and we saw his crit earlier on, Tolly. He got some very lucky crits, and now he's going to crit a little bit more often, a little bit more regularly. This could be a problem.
And not just with Deathbringer, it's with Wind Demon, and immediately Enemy, they're going to start the Fire Giant. They don't even have a Wrath for this.
They don't have Wrath for this, but who are the boys of Denial to know what's going on? They know Homie's going up to the sky early on, looking for a good target, more than likely PandaCat, and that was the aim. Forces Purification, though, onto Khaos, and Khaos in the world of hurt. That wall is blocking it from dashing away. Khaos has to Sanctuary and will dash to the right-hand side, but in goes Benji, still looking for Khaos, and Homiefe picks up the kill. PandaCat, however, though, wants to answer back. His mid laner going down, looking towards Homiefe, who jukes it out with the Purification, but no escape, Sunshine. Come back to daddy, says PainDeViande, and he takes him out as well.
But now Benji, he cannot get away from Shattered, so that's going to be 2 members dead on the side of Enemy, 2 dead on the side of it, and Denial, and now with Vetium rewinded, he's in a 2v2 spot in the soul lane. He's baiting so many cooldowns. Hurriwind on the side, he finds a perfect tornado!
And now Shadowq's running for his life, but he's running straight towards a Terra, and Hurriwind will clean it up anyway. PainDeViande left on his own, but left-hand side in the jungle. Sneaky PandaCat's waiting, gets a nice little crit, just says, hello, Shadowq, welcome back to the fight. That's absolutely not going anywhere, by the way.
Not at all. That's 3 for 2 at the end of the team fight. That lasted at least 40 seconds or so. It didn't feel like it. It felt like an eternity in my eyes. But that's going to be tier 1 tower on the right-hand side down. Enemy, they have to do something to defend this tier 2.
Denial trying to answer back with a tier 2 tower, like you said. It's very important to get this, answer some of this goal back, find something after win they just got. PandaCat is critting for days here, but he got into the agility just before that stun connected, or he could have been in trouble. They still want to chase though, Enemy.
And now it's going to be enemy chasing down Denial. We want to see how they're going to be able to find the advantage here. They could continue to chase down Vetium. On the bottom side, we see the teleport coming on Marauder. He's not done yet. He's switching to Hurriwind, but a nice wall from Homie going to cut that option off.
Well, the Fire Giant is available here for now. Enemy to look at again. PandaCat in a very good position here at the moment. Shadowq still hanging around, has no blessing available as the boys of Denial are starting to come back in. Marauder on zone duty. Shadowq is going to be the first one to show his face and realize the Fire Giant still over half health.
Shadowq getting all 3 chains, but that's going to be Thor landing on 2 on the back. Khaos with a
play.
double tap, the wall cutting him off. He has to figure out a way
Where's
to dash.
Benji going? Benji wants Khaos, but Benji gets absolutely peeled to death there. Couldn't get to Khaos, and Benji's running for his life. Airstrike from PandaCat. He senses blood. Looking for Homiefe in the jungle, but the wall double tap going to slow that down. Nobody dies other than Vetium.
Except Shadowq as well. The rest of his team now. Marauder giving him the speed boost that they really need to be able to chase that down. That's going to be 2 members dead from Denial. Venom respawning in 5 seconds. Now, they still have Hurriwind with his ultimate, but PandaCat trying to sniff him out. He could go for a 1v1, but he's cut off by 2.
But he's going to be able to dash away from the danger zone of that ultimate. Tornado does tick away though, and he's getting low. Has Devour's Gauntlets to resustain, and Marauder going to commit to Hurriwind, who's in a lot of trouble now that no escape is here.
And that's going to find 2 targets down. The bomb stun not allowing Homie anywhere to go.
Messy.
More members dead on the side of Denial. An enemy. They could cleanly get this Fire Giant now if they want to.
Messy fights from both teams so far here, but enemy are coming out on top of this one, and it's important for them as well. They've lost all 3 games they've played today. This is their 4th and final one, and they need points. If they want to go to Super Regionals, they need to step up now, and that Fire Giant will help them do that.
Let's go listen to enemy as they use this Fire Giant going down the right lane.
Terra.
Why are we winning?
Because we're better.
Mid.
Get out the gold. Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. All towers and then gold.
Mid then gold.
All towers and then gold. All
No,
towers.
mid then gold and then go light.
Pretty sure we should get all towers first, but
Pretty
tower.
sure you have no game knowledge.
okay. All right, Jing.
Terra. Again.
Anytime you guys see Thor up in the air, say it. Careful,
Gold.
back up.
God,
Gold.
Back up and go.
Take red. God damn it.
Yeah, okay. Get this. Go get right tower. Okay, come here.
No!
Okay.
Go to gold.
I have
Fuck
ulti.
it.
Yo, Marauder, come here.
No.
Well, you got to listen to enemies' comms there. They don't know why they're winning, but they are winning, Toli.
They are indeed winning, and like there seems like a little bit of dysfunctionality, I would say, within the team comps, but right now they need to ignore that and then just keep on with the game. They just need to start grouping up and continue these objectives. They've been able to get a lead without the Fire Giant, but extending it to 12,000 now with it.
As I look at the actual team of enemy here and the way you can see their stat lines play off, I'm really looking at Shattered and I'm looking at PandaCat. These two are the ones that have stepped up this game. To be fair, Marauder allowed that transition to happen though by all the work he put in on Benji in the early game that set Shattered up for the ganks that allowed PandaCat to have all that free time to get ahead. It's all come back for me to, I guess, Marauder's solo line play against Benji.
And that's something that they need to figure out to never happen again throughout the rest of this weekend.
Agreed.
You can't be this aggressive and get punished. Shattered playing the all-long Shen, it's not something that Denial, I guess, expected with all these bans and picks coming out of the jungle side. And as a result, now enemy late game, they switched it around. Coming from a 53-minute loss, it's not something easy to bounce back from.
To be fair, as casters as well, we were sat here talking about what jungle pick Shattered could go for here. We overlooked the Erlang Shen as well. We didn't see it coming. We didn't think about it. We should have, because he's done this before.
I thought about something that would be a safe further away. I even thought about maybe like Hercules for an example. Like we haven't seen Herc jungle in a while, but it would have been a good initiation tool. However, the javelin toss is something that is so valuable, and Shattered has been making it work this whole game, and now enemy going down the left-hand side.
Well, a little bit of a split here. Marauder's trying to isolate somebody mid lane and put some pressure on there for his team to allow people to rotate and allow pressure onto the left instead. Meanwhile, the Phoenix of both of them, of Denials, are actually in a good place right now, but Pain's trying to force it right now.
They're trying to use the bolster defenses just to mitigate a lot of damage.
Oh,
Look how much
Shadowq took
damage
a lot.
Shadowq is taking. He's deleted.
And the Tornadoes did rock onto Khaos, but Khaos is still fine at the back. Fire Giant will regen him as well. Marauder leading the team in, still tanking the Phoenix, which is still at half health. Not a lot of focusing from enemy onto that Phoenix. Instead, Shad looking for kills, and Homie's nearly dead.
He's forcing Sanctuaries left, right, and center. Gonna get rooted out, but he has nothing to really worry about. The bomb from Khaos gonna make sure he zones away. PandaCat, though, able to take away the second Phoenix out of Denial. And this could be enemy's first win of the day.
It looks like it will be as well. I mean, shattered on this. Look at this build that came out from this as well. Little bit of defense, no escape from PainDeViande. How he's going to pull? No one today, but Homie's in the sky, chained to high heaven, coming in, looking for the pick onto Marauder, who gets a good ult onto him from Hurriwind, but it's still too little, too late. Hurriwind dancing around in this tornado, but enemy is still committed, and the bombs rain down from Khaos.
That's one dead for Denial so far, one dead on enemy, and now they're still going down the Titan room. Homiefe, he wants to find more kills. The double tap gonna force out the Sanctuary out of Khaos. The stun connects onto Khaos, but now Marauder doing a good job creating a buffer zone.
And now Benji coming around the corner too. Khaos looking for his dash to come up. He had 1 second, and now he's got 61 seconds to wait for it to come back up.
Overzealous was enemy going down the right-hand side. They found the Phoenix. They wanted to just get a little bit too much, too extra. No, there's no way I would say that they could actually lose off this, because there's going to be a lot of fire minion waves trickling down that Titan room that Denial have to worry about. They could potentially get one Phoenix at best here.
It seems like what they might be trying to do here. They'll definitely get a tier 2 tower. They're marching on towards this Phoenix on the right. Alongside him, Benji is still coming though. They've got no one defending. They're going to rely on Hurriwind to defend, I guess, when he respawns. They definitely at least want this Phoenix.
That Titan though, look how low that Titan is getting. He has 3 seconds to respawn to defend that Titan.
It won't die the Titan, but he's going to be very low by the time he gets there. And meanwhile, Shadowq got poked to high heaven by Marauders all in with that ultimate. Marauder not going to be able to chase down thanks to Homiefe's wall, but look at the Titan.
The Titan is so low, it almost died there. The respawn from Hurriwind barely able to keep it alive, and this is going to be an all-in play now from enemy. They're guaranteed the win here as long as they group up as 5.
I don't even really need to group as 5. PandaCat though, isolated in the low, gets the crit damage through, takes out a double kill. You respect the crit of a Jingwei.
Yeah, the Jingwei just doing so much damage, finding that double kill cleanly. Now it's going to be a 5-on-3 for enemy to continue the Titan push, as Hurriwind had to come back into that room to defend that one last fire minion wave.
Well, it was a long and easy day for most of the teams here until this final set, Toli. We expected it could be a little bit closer than what we've seen overall here, but it's going to go the way of enemy. They're going to split with Denial, which puts Denial on 4 points for the day, and obviously enemy at 1 and Saw clean at the top with 6.
And I expect enemy to use this last set as a learning tool into day 2 and day 3. Off of their last set against Sword, it wasn't really too pretty, I would say. They didn't really find much in that one, but transitioning into that set against Denial, look at them, how happy they're like, how are we winning? Well, congratulations, enemy. You won your first game of the day.
They did win the first game of the day, but how many strats did they show there? Because that Ares is something nobody really speaks about PainDeViande about. They pulled that out. But like, they had to use it.
The issue is, like, if I'm a team, if I'm any other team here in this group, I'm looking at the Ares pick, I'm like, okay, I don't really see much synergy for this Ares. Like, I'm looking at Shattered playing this all-along Shen more than I'm looking at Pain play this Ares. The aggression coming out of Shattered is not something we're normally used to seeing recently.
It's a good boon for the boys of enemy there, and to Denial, I mean, they'll be happy with their performance today. They've taken the 4 points, but definitely want to watch back for both these two teams and look at the errors of their ways. A lot of overextension, I feel. Some very jank team fights that didn't work out for either of them.
It's definitely a time for them to do their homework once they come back into their hotel room and figure this one out. We see the hugs coming out of both of them. Really good friends between the two teams. Khaos and Benji hugging each other out at the end.
Very, very good performance from both the two teams overall. Denial, definitely the victors here today for me over enemy, who didn't look the greatest, but it was the first day.
It was, and Soar were able to just dominate everybody so far. They still have yet to play against Denial, so we'll see how that matchup goes tomorrow.
That's true indeed. Well, the analysts are ready. F.Agro and Ionic, talk us through Game 2.
Too soon, Executus. I came up here and I said, yo, they're done. Forget about it. Throw in the towel. Can I go home early? I might have actually said that last one. But at the end of the day, enemy actually stuck it out, and they won. And I like how they won in dominant fashion, too. They didn't just kind of squeak by. They said, all right, you know what? I think it's time for an enemy win.
They got on a roll, for sure. Just sitting there, listening to their comms. They were definitely feeling themselves a little bit. Unconventional, but it worked for them.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team, and this is, I know we spent a lot of the time on the desk last time talking about how there's a lot of Smite to be played, it's just day 1. Yo, this was a must win. If enemy get a goose egg on Friday, Saturday becomes that much harder. I mean, you know, touch upon it as a player, like, I like what I asked you last time. You said, well, you want to take it one game at a time, but like, that's harder than it sounds.
Yeah, definitely. I would say a lot of LAN, especially as momentum, like if you can really get yourself going, people actually joke about how Enemy at the very start of the spring split. I think they 2-0'd. I don't remember. It was a big upset for Enemy, and we say that Enemy wouldn't have been a first place team. They really just ran off that momentum in the spring split. That's probably definitely not true. They definitely would have been a good team, but momentum really is a huge thing in Smite. Confidence is a really big thing in Smite.
Yeah, I mean, there's all jokes. The best jokes come from a spot of truth, and we can laugh about it, we can joke around about it, but at the end of the day, Pain does lead that team for the majority of it. Momentum is absolutely very real, and I mean, it's just unfortunate that you guys don't get the experience. I was able to sit there with Aggro and just look at the guys, and I mean, I know PandaCat, I know that squad, and I know that this win is so much more than just tonight, and like I said, it's going to carry over. But as we dive into this one a little bit more specifically, I love seeing the different flavor of Erlang Shen. We've seen solo and support, and he's always so tanky, but here, Shadowq goes in the jungle, and he can do whatever the hell he wants.
He was doing a ton of damage with a very unconventional build. I mean, it just looks funky whenever someone's got near max attack speed. I mean, he's just flailing around, throwing out spears, but it's doing a ton of damage. I mean, he was diving Homie and diving Hurriwind into the Titan room, and he was shredding them with that build.
Yeah, I think it really came down to Shadowq making the plays. He really did set the tone for the game. He found a lot of kills in the solo lane, was making plays around the mid-jungle duo, and he really set the pace for the game and helped Enemy get ahead and find their lead.
Which is interesting because it's so on any jungler, for the most part. I think if you're playing like an Ao Kuang or like a Freya or one of these late game gods, it's a little bit different. But for most of the junglers out there, it's possible to set the pace of the game, right? You just sort of get out there first and you do it. But we usually look to the semi-globals like Thor or Ratatasker or characters like a Wheelish to really like get things going quickly. But I think Shadow really proved here that it doesn't matter what character you're playing, as long as you have control of that early mid pressure, you can really push it.
No doubt. I mean, he just was all around the map, like Yannick mentioned. I mean, we see Homiefe pick up that early first blood in the duo lane, and you're thinking, oh boy, here we go again. You know what I mean? Picking off an Ares early, getting a kill onto Thor on Homiefe. It wasn't looking great, but Shattered looked so much more comfortable this game than any of his previous three.
Something that I did want to touch on about that specific first blood, that's an Anister play. That is like out of Anister's book. The level 4 rotation of dual lane, no ultimate, just raw walk in there. I watched that. That just looked like Anister. And speaking of the junglers, how they like learn from each other, I think that's very, very interesting. So with that win, like we said, very important must-win game for Enemy. They don't wind up with a 0. That means they split down the middle this time around with Denial, and that's going to leave Denial with 4 points, and Enemy has earned themselves 1. There are 2 more days worth of Smite, so that's not as dismal as it seems. But Yannick, you actually had a funny note about this last one when it came down to the picks and bans.
Yeah, interestingly enough, the Ares pick was actually a misclick. The timer went down to 0. They weren't sure what to pick, so Khaos just locked in Ares. They were actually joking about remaking the game because they didn't want to play Ares, and they actually found their first win of the day with it.
And it's funny because I don't think we spoke about how Pain just doesn't play Ares. We haven't seen Pain play Ares, and Pain gets mocked a little bit for his mechanics or lack thereof, but Ares, Shattered was the star of this game, but Ares made an impact.
I mean, whenever you get set up, you could hear Pain yelling from the arena, you know, stun or brood or something to just guarantee the chain. And that's fine, because if you can guarantee that chain onto the cripple, you saw him force out beads from Kukulkan consistently, and then immediately yank him back in. The Ares play, while maybe not as comfortable as his other gods, certainly looked very strong.
I mean, at the end of the day, Pain, he's a LARPer, and he wears a suit of armor and a shield and a sword. I think he felt more at home than he's willing to admit. Pain standing by, what's up, Hindu man? Pain standing by next to Adonis, and let's go talk to him.
Yeah, let's not talk to Hindu Man about that mistake there. Pain, we'll get to the hard stuff a little bit later. I do have some questions for you, but how are you and the team feeling after that win?
So it felt really nice, but at the same time, it was off a mispick and some kind of awkward picks, I'd say overall. Like Erlang Shen jungle was never really done before. The Ares support, I think last time I run Ares support in a rank or in a regular game was like 3 months ago.
Did you guys go in there with just no expectation to win, do you think?
I think we had more of a trolling / fun mindset, and it felt the atmosphere was so much more like calm and just felt nicer. I think.
And just for those at home, obviously we listened into comms a couple times. I hear you shot calling team fights, right? Like an intense 2v3 where you're a man down. and then all I hear is PandaCat going, "Wee, I'm a plane, woo!" as he takes Jingwei in the middle of the fight. But like, for some reason, you guys seem to play better in that really lighthearted atmosphere.
So when we're confident, we play this way pretty much, and we've transferred from a shot calling role of myself to a team fight shot calling role and not a really objective shot calling. So Scream does that more often because I think your jungler should be your shot caller basically. So now in team fights I'm the only one yelling all the time. But the atmosphere overall is just, it's easier for me to do it because I don't have to worry about objectives and team fights. And at the same time, I feel like people don't feel as pressured because I don't order them around all the time anymore. So it probably helps.
They got some veteranship under them. They're not the new
right.
bloods anymore.
That's
they
right.
have the
Yeah,
opinions
yeah.
of their own. Talk to me about Shattered a little bit, and because I heard him, he was making some really fantastic calls in the game before that. You guys unfortunately lost, but what has he been able to bring with that kind of new responsibility?
So the beginning of the year, when I picked up Shattered, he couldn't shot call at all. He couldn't be an in-game leader ever. It wasn't gonna happen. So I took the role for him, and pretty much he learned from what I've told him how to do things, how to shot call. And over time, he tried out stuff in the rank and scrims. It worked out, it didn't work out, so he learned over time. And now here we are right now.
Well, let's talk a hard question. You guys came in, you know, despite being bottom seed or one of the bottom seeds, you know, people still had a lot of confidence in you guys. A stark contrast to how it used to be where people really thought you guys were these underdogs, weren't going to perform at all. What has been wrong with Enemy? Because, you know, you guys are very happy, obviously, with that final win, but the first three did not look good, especially the shutout that you had 2 games in a row.
So going into this LAN, it was really hard to find practice, and proper practice, I mean. We had some at the, towards the end of it, but before that it was really, really rough. So we struggled to get some, and then eventually when we figured out compositions, it worked out for the 1 or 2 teams that we had scrimmed that weren't necessarily the top teams. So I'd say over time, we're gonna get better as this goes. Hopefully we get better fast enough for us to play against the top teams and win at the last day and second day.
How confident are you guys heading into the final 2 days?
Pretty confident now. I'd say tomorrow a bit rough still, but gonna be good, and then last day amazing.
Well, maybe just keep having PandaCat LARPA playing with Jingwei's passive. That's going to be it for me and Pain, though. Guys, don't worry. We still have more Smite action in the next 2 days. Also, you can play with some of the best players in the world at faceit.com. Sign up, play with the best, win prizes like gym skins, all the little fun stuff. Do you play Faceit?
No, I don't.
Well, you're going to play now.
All right, got it.
You're going to play now, too. But that's going to be it for us, guys. Again, 2 more days of Smite action will be here live tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern on hi-rez TV.